Let's unbox the Epic Hero Series 4-inch deluxe figure of Sabine Wren. Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there, and thanks for visiting Varykino. I recently opened up a couple of standard Star Wars action figures from the new line by Hasbro, Epic Hero Series. I took a closer look at the Stormtrooper and Darth Vader, and today I'm going to be opening up the Sabine Wren deluxe figure. Of course, this is a toy line targeted towards younger fans and collectors, but for me personally, I like to collect character-specific items. As I like to collect Sabine Wren, I'm going to add this one to my collection. So she comes with a few more accessories than a standard figure, and I get the feeling they are going to be a little bit more play-centric, lots of moving parts, but this could be kind of fun. I want to see how much sort of playability there is, see how sort of perhaps how toy-like they are. Maybe they look cool on display. I don't know. I did pick this one up on sale. We have a lot of this line here in New Zealand. Sometimes when Hasbro releases these new product lines, they don't make it all the way here to New Zealand. So I was very excited to see this new line available locally and on sale during our local school holidays. So very, very exciting. Before I open up this deluxe figure, I'm just going to take a closer look at the packaging. Like other figures in the line, we have this bright and colorful line art of the character in question, Sabine Wren, as seen in the Ahsoka live action series with her darker toned armor, and she is wielding the green lightsaber as she does in the show. A nice, clear, readable Star Wars logo, black on white. This definitely stands out on the toy store shelves. Behind the character, we have a yellow color that is also echoed here on the character name stripe there, Sabine Wren, and we've got a little bit of an insert picture there of the toy itself with some of the accessories. We've got so much going on here. We've got the figure itself, we've got the sort of spinning shield here, we've got her jetpack, we've got a gauntlet with, I think this is a vibro knife here, and her lightsaber accessory. So going to be interesting checking all of those accessories out. So on the back, we have more features of the toy sort of in these images explaining what they're all going to do. We can see the jetpack's going to fit on her back. This one looks like there is some kind of spinning movement for her sort of wrist shield. Very curious about that one. And it looks like the gauntlet can attach to her wrist, and hopefully we'll be able to figure out the sort of sliding mechanism here. I don't think it fires. I think it's just going to slide out. I would be very surprised if they've added a firing mechanism to a modern Star Wars toy. Over here we have a short little bio of the Sabine Wren character, repeated in different languages. Sabine Wren is a Mandalorian warrior and graffiti artist with a creative and rebellious spirit. So no spoilers, just a fun little intro for younger fans who may not have watched everything that this character appears in. We've got all the sort of standard barcode, copyright text, warnings, because this is not for young fans. We can see it says not for kids under 3 there. Overall, very bright and colorful packaging. It's always fun when Hasbro tries some new different toy lines, and these ones are really quite interesting. So I've got a couple of these standard ones and some other Sabine Wren 3.75-inch figures that we can compare once we get everything out, because I really like seeing how new toys line up against ones that we already have in our collection. So let's get this backing card open so we can take a closer look. So now I have the Sabine figure and all of her accessories out of the packaging so we can take a closer look. Because this is a toy line primarily targeted at the younger collector, they have 5 points of articulation, which gives them a very sturdy sort of construction here. We don't have a fine articulation. So let's check those 5 points out. We have the helmet here. We've got a pretty good range of movement. We can just generally side to side. We've got all sort of rotation there because we can tip it up and down. There is no head sculpted under this helmet. This helmet does not come off unless you're really rough with your toys. It's not designed to come off because there is no face underneath it. Pretty standard rotation there at the shoulder joints. And at the hips, we can make the characters sit down. We know from Hasbro that the upcoming assortment is going to include Mandalorian's N1 Starfighter and some speeder bikes that we're yet to learn more information about. We know that Sabine from the live action series does ride a speeder bike, so perhaps we will see them. It'll be interesting to see how that's going to work because we don't have any knee articulation, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But overall, this is about as much movement as a younger fan is going to need, and very reminiscent of the original vintage Kenner line. It's enough to sort of pose characters. They stand up very sturdily because they do not have any sort of ankle or knee articulation. So I find these ones stand up pretty well without the need for stands, even though they do have pig holes in the underside of the feet if you wish to. Especially if you are, like me, a focus collector, this is going to go beside some of my other Sabine collectibles. I'm probably going to put her on a stand anyway. I don't like losing accessories or figures off the edge of my shelf. So let's take a closer look at the painting details. So some patches of this are very plain in its painting details, particularly here on the thighs. It looks like we have pretty much a one color base, which is the sort of dark brown here used for the pants, and then we have some of the other painted colors applied over top. On the shin armor, we have orange stripes over here, a more all over for the front of this one with that sort of deep burgundy red color. We have a brown belt here. We've got grey here for the gauntlets. We've got a very nice little rebel bird here as a yellow design or signet on the shoulder armor there. And we have a plain blue one over here. We've got a very nice 3-color stripe over the grey chest piece here. Very nice. And we've got some colors going on here with the helmet. We've got white, red, and 2 different tones of grey. So all up, very nice paintwork. It's all well aligned. Not seeing sort of spills or scratches or any kind of blobs. Pretty tidy paintwork for a children's toy. So one of the other things I wanted to test, the rangefinder does not move on the helmet. It is a bit rubbery, but that feels glued in. So that will not move. Yeah, so as I expected, I wasn't expecting full articulation of small details there. So as you may well notice, they have some peg holes in the sort of gauntlet armor here and a large peg hole on the back. Of course, we have some accessories with this one. So let's take a closer look at the accessories and then we'll start putting them in place. So we've got Sabine's jetpack here, which is grey with these lovely purple side panels, engines with this sort of really pretty wing design on it. So best I can tell, nothing looks like it moves, nothing sort of pops out or anything like that, and we've just got a simple pig here on the back. But, oops, overall, this is painted quite nicely, and it feels very sturdy. There we go. And then we have an energy shield, which is going to connect to her wrist. We've got a small pig there, and on the backing card, it looked like it kind of had some arrows, and I don't think this is going to, I thought maybe it would like spin in some manner, but the arrows look like they were just indicating that these little extra bits can sort of pop out and give a little bit of a movement, but it doesn't actually really move. They just kind of fold in there and then they're just going to pop out and kind of make it look like it's spinning. So I thought it might be fun, like if you can sort of like spin it, while it's attached to her wrist, but this is just a simple peg. There's no movement mechanism there, and it's just these that kind of pop out. But overall, I'm kind of keen to see how this one's going to look like on her wrist. Speaking of wrists, we have a small little extra gauntlet that is going to connect on over her sculpted ones here with a small peg, and we have a sort of a blue translucent plastic, what I assume is supposed to be a vibro blade here, rather than sort of like a knife. And we've got a little peg here, so we can, oh, that's a bit stiff, tuck it back in there. And we can see that sort of retracted, and then we can pop that back out there. Pretty simple, and be curious to see how bulky this looks attached to her wrist. And then last but not least, we have the green lightsaber that she uses in the Ahsoka live action series. So it's fairly sturdy. The hilt does not pop off like on some of the other figures from Hasbro. We've got a fairly tidy paint job and some pretty nice little details in the sculpting there. It's mostly painted just grey, but we have got this black accent stripe there as well. So you will notice that there are no blaster accessories here, and if we look at her legs, they are just sculpted in the holsters on her legs. There's no detail paint on here, and these do not come off. They are just a solid piece sculpted on her legs. Now, perhaps these are too small. We know that the Stormtrooper does come with a separate E11 blaster that character can hold. Perhaps these were just a little too small for this particular toy line, but they are sort of there. So let's put all of the accessories on as indicated by the packaging. I'm going to put her jetpack on. We've got a sort of a hexagon post hole here and a circle one here. So let's see how tight. Wow, okay, that doesn't just... Wow, that's really tight. Oh my gosh. I don't think that's going to... Wow, I was expecting it just to kind of peg on. You can see I'm like not even getting it completely connected. There's actually a bit of a gap. I don't think... That's taking a lot of strength to push that down. That's about as... Wow, that's about as far as I'm going to get it. You can see that there's a bit of a gap there. That's a very sturdy connection. That's on there. Okay, we've got that in place. I wonder how that's going to bode for the other pieces. So I'm going to put her extra gauntlet armor here on her other gauntlet. You can hear the creaking of the plastic. Okay. Definitely looking a little bit more like a kid's toy when we add on these accessories, isn't it? Okay, and let's try this one. Okay, that one goes on a lot easier. So now we've got her energy shield, very big, a lot bigger than the ones that we see in the show. And I can kind of spin it, but just manually, it's not going to like rotate freely. And then we've got those little extra sort of movement pieces extended. So I can kind of do that, but it's not going to spin on its own. This is definitely the kind of thing that's going to appeal to kids though. We've got lots of kind of weapons and fun accessories here. And then, while she's got everything else going on, I'm going to go and put her lightsaber in her hand. And which hand am I going to use? I kind of want to put it in this hand, but that's a very narrow grip. I'm not sure how well this is going to work. Sometimes it's easier to go up from the bottom and kind of push past the thumb. There we go. Okay, there. That was a little bit tight, but we got there. So here is Sabine with all of her accessories on. And it's definitely a little bit more unsteady with all of that extra weight. Wow, yes, her backpack is quite heavy. I was not expecting that. I guess I'm just used to, you know, the Hasbro line. Yeah, she wants to tip forward a little bit. There we go. See if I can get her to balance facing this way. So there is Sabine with all of her deluxe accessories on her, which, yeah, definitely looks a little bit overloaded. This is not going to be something that appeals to the adult collector unless you are being very completionist with your Sabine collection. So I like Sabine and I wanted this figure to add to my collection, but I don't think I'm going to be putting all of these accessories on her for my display. So I'm curious to see how easily these bits are going to remove. Okay, that one's very tight. It is a smaller accessory. I can imagine them wanting not to lose it. And let's see. Okay, that one does pop off at least a little bit easier than it went on. So her with her lightsaber, she's going to be a lot more steady now. There. So there we go. I'm just going to grab some of the other figures that I have on hand. This is the Imperial Stormtrooper from the same line, and then over here we also have the Darth Vader. because the line is being described as 4-inch figures as on the packaging. So I was always really curious to see if they are all 4 inches or if they are scaled to each other. And as we can see, especially if I put them back to back, that Sabine, she's going to stand up for me. Sabine is shorter than the Stormtrooper, which is again shorter than the Darth Vader figure. So they're pretty, you know, maybe not the most accurate scale, but at least there is differences in height there. And if you have watched my other unboxings from this line, you will note that it is not just Sabine that has those weird peg holes on her wrists, but, oops, all of the toys going everywhere. The Darth Vader and the Stormtroopers also have the sort of connecting peg holes on their wrist. And as you can see, the Stormtrooper also has the back and forearm ones. So I am guessing, because these ones did not come with any accessories to attach to the back plate, Vader's cape does attach on the back, but he doesn't come with anything on the arms. So I'm guessing that means that you can mix and match with the accessories. So you could give a shield to a Stormtrooper, or the backpack. Actually, the backpack fits on the Stormtrooper better than it does on Sabine. That's kind of funny. So we can do that sort of very childhood. There we go. We've got a souped up Stormtrooper with all of his accessories there. So it's kind of interesting that all of the figures seem to have these peg holes, because we only have 2 deluxe figures in the line so far, Sabine Wren and Paz Vizsla. So I'm guessing that they have sort of future-proofed the line by including these attachment points on all of the figures. But they do look a little bit quirky, don't they? This is definitely intended for kids to play. I gotta say, this is probably pretty fun for kids with all of these different features, especially if we start getting vehicles. Oh, no, that one's not going to come off. There we go. Let's see how easily this one comes off. There we go. And he's back to normal. See, there's his E11 blaster, definitely a bit bigger, whoops, than the one there sculpted on her leg. So there we go. I'm just going to pop these ones off to the side there for a minute, put these accessories, and now we can compare this Sabine, I've got so much stuff on the desk, it's going everywhere, to the earlier Sabine figures from the animated series. So we've got a little bit of a different style here, but we can also see a little bit of the scale. Obviously, the animated series figures were a lot more sort of slender. They also have much less articulation than the vintage collection counterparts. So we've got sculpted elbows. They don't articulate, they articulate at the shoulders, and at the legs there's nothing at the knees or the ankles. So they're a little bit of sort of a closer comparison than a vintage collection figure. So I thought that these would be fun to get out and compare. And obviously these ones are a little bit more sturdy. These ones were I sort of felt like they were halfway between aimed at kids because of this stylized and style and a simple articulation, but they were essentially the only figures that we got for the Rebels series was in this animated style. So this is what my Rebels collection primarily consists of, is this animated style range. So I think this is kind of fun seeing them all together here like this, so we can sort of see a little bit taller, and the build is a little bit more proportioned to a live action performer. The animated Sabine is very, very slender as she is on the show, so these come across as a little bit more, not quite fragile, but definitely I don't know how well they would stand up to vigorous play, whereas I feel like this one really would. So that was a little bit of a fun comparison. I do always enjoy unboxing my figures and taking a closer look, and comparisons are always really quite interesting as well. So I think this is very much in the for kids category. If you are a completionist or a character focused collector, say if you want to collect up a lot of Stormtroopers, these are not bad and generally at a pretty affordable price point for us here in New Zealand. This Epic Hero series is about half the price of a vintage collection carded figure, which means that if you're wanting to just add a little bit extra to your collection, it's a fun and affordable little item. So if you've got a Stormtrooper display, this one's not bad to add to it, despite that with those sort of extra sort of play features added onto it. So I like collecting Sabine items, as you can see, so I like adding this one to my collection. Of course, it's a bit more of a toy than what we would say is an action figure, I guess, in terms of the collector market these days. But I think it was a pretty cool figure at a very affordable price. I'm not expecting that much from a figure from the kids section at such a low price point, but I'm pleasantly surprised. It definitely does look like a kid's toy when you add on all of those accessories, so this one will be hit and miss depending on your criteria for your own personal collection. For me, I'm very happy to have it. I don't have that much representation of Sabine from the live action Ahsoka series. Primarily, most of the Sabine figures that I have are from her earlier animated Rebels appearance, so I am happy to have this version in my collection, which is very small, growing up my live action featured collectibles there. So I'm glad this wasn't too expensive. I think I would be a little bit more on the fence about it if it was priced closer to a vintage collection figure. I think it would just be for the real completionist collectors, but at this price point, I'm perfectly happy with it. I probably will put her jetpack on. I don't know that I'm going to display it with these ones. I think they definitely make the figure look too big and clunky for display, and it definitely tips her over a little bit there. So, thank you so much for watching. This was a little bit of a longer one for a simple kids toy, but I really wanted to see it and compare it with all of the other figures and with all of the accessories. And I think this one was a fun little find. Thank you so much for watching. I'll have the reviews for the Darth Vader and the Stormtrooper from this Epic Hero series line. I'll have those unboxings linked down below if you want to check them out. I think that these ones were really quite fascinating, and like this, I also compared them to other figures from my collection, which was definitely quite fun to see those side by side. Catch you in the next video, and as always, may the Force be with you. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.